And welcome into this edition of ACAP Today for the week of August 29th, 2022. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. On this week's edition of ACAP Today, we're going to talk about tobacco policy and why it's important for landlords and others here in Aroostook County to get on board with tobacco policies for their facilities. We're going to talk with a couple of community educators here at ACAP, our statewide partners who oversee and do this work statewide, and a local realtor / landlord who's been involved and been doing this work with our team and what the impact has been in his buildings. We're going to get to that in just a little bit, but before we do that, we're going to first get to the news and information that you can use as we do at every point in this broadcast. So we're going to begin with that. Again, for the news and information that you can use for the week of August 29th, 2022. We begin with this. We are very proud to announce and pleased to announce that ACAP is being honored by the Gone family and Gone's Family Farms this year with their corn maze design. This photo was taken just last week for the soft opening of the corn maze, with the ACAP team, 200 strong, pictured in the letters there in the field. So you can look at the design here that shows very proudly a number of the services that ACAP provides the local community, from the family that we take care of all the way at the top of the screen to the letters A, B, and C, those child blocks representing our early care and education program, the house representing our energy, housing, and homelessness initiatives across Aroostook County. The individuals representing our workforce development efforts, and of course the apple representing health, nutrition, and various programs that we have in that regard. So we are looking forward to sharing this with the community. The official ribbon cutting was held this Monday morning. And we are now open for business at Gone's Family Farms. And again, thank you to them. And thank you to Derek Lamont, who took this picture of our team in the corn maze last week when we were over there for our agency day. Again, we look forward to sharing this opportunity to learn more about our agency. As you go through the corn maze, there are a number of games that you can play, a total of 5 games. That provide information about our services and help educate the community about what we do here at ACAP. So we're very excited about this. And again, our appreciation is extended to the Gone family for all they have done, selecting us as their recipients and honorees for their corn maze this year. It's a great time. We hope you go out and enjoy it with your family through the fall season. We also want to invite everyone who's up, especially in the St. John Valley, to come help hand harvest the ACAP 50th anniversary potato plot, which is part of the Greater Fort Kent Chamber of Commerce Coming Home Weekend and UMFK Homecoming Celebration. The event will be held on September 9th, 2022. It will be from 1 to 4 p.m. at GB&D Pelletier Farms in St. John Plantation, right there on Route 161. This is the several acres that have been donated to ACAP this year and have been grown in honor of our 50th anniversary. In addition to hand harvesting the fields, we will stuff the 5-pound potato bags, which we ran the art contest for over the summer. Gert Thibodeau of Fort Kent was the winner, and you can see her lovely art design there on your screen. Those bags will be harvested, and our friends at Versant Power will be distributing them in honor of our 50th anniversary to food pantries and community cupboards across Aroostook County to draw attention to the challenges with food insecurity in our region. In addition to that, U.S. Senator Susan Collins will be taking a couple of those bags of potatoes to the White House to present to the executive chef at the Executive Mansion. So we are very pleased about that. We presented our first potato bags last week. They were harvested a little early to Senator Angus King, and we look forward to giving them to other dignitaries as well as the part of our 50th anniversary celebration. But we're really excited about this, and we're inviting one and all to come celebrate an Aroostook County tradition. That's the hand harvesting of our 50th anniversary potato field, September 9th from 1 to 4 on Route 161 in St. John Plantation at GB&D Pelletier Farms. In a couple of weeks on ACAP Today, we will be, actually next week on ACAP Today, we'll be talking with the representatives from GB&D Pelletier Farms about this project and about the hand harvesting. So we'll talk more about that next week. We also want to remind folks that with record fuel prices going into this heating season, now is the time to see if you qualify for the Home Energy Assistance Program. We're actively working with members of Maine's congressional delegation and others to see about extending the income eligibility guidelines and also hopefully extending the benefit for this year given the price of heating oil. The income qualification guidelines are available there on your screen. We are looking back only at 1 month's income, so you can see by household size there. If your household size is larger than 5, please reach out to our agency as there are additional income qualification guidelines for households larger than 5. We also want to remind folks out there who have already had their HEAP appointment that obviously there are required documents that you need to follow through on. So we encourage you to get those to us as expeditiously as possible. The HEAP application itself typically takes between 2 to 8 weeks, depending on how soon those required documents are received. And we do also have a deduction option for medical expenses that are paid out of pocket in the 12 months prior to the application. So we encourage you, even if you don't quite meet the income eligibility guidelines, if you have medical expenses we can deduct, we'd be willing to work through that process with you. The benefit amount does vary from household to household based on size and income. And benefits are paid directly to your fuel provider as a credit to your account. So give us a call here at 764-3721 if you'd like to schedule an appointment this season. We also want to remind folks that the farmers markets in collaboration with our Women, Infant, and Children's program, which offer fresh, locally grown produce, healthy recipes, we have free giveaways, and are able to help make community connections with various programs. The final 2 of these farmers markets are happening on September 8th and September 14th. They are from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at ACAP's Customer Service Center at 771 Main Street in Presque Isle. They are open, obviously, to WIC customers, but they are open to the general public as well. And we encourage you to stop by when you see the farmer's truck in the parking lot at 771 Main Street, again, on the 8th and 14th of September. We also are reminding folks that we do have a very limited number of available Head Start and early Head Start slots in Aroostook County for children that are actually parents who are expecting all the way up to children 5 years of age. We encourage you to reach out to us at 207-554-4176. Or you can start an application directly online on ACAP's website under the Early Care and Education section of our website. We do have slots at this point remaining available in our sites, our new site in Van Buren, a couple of slots left at our Fort Kent Center, and a couple of slots left in our Presque Isle Center as of the recording of this broadcast. So please, if you have children in those areas and would like to check on availability, give us a call and we'd be happy to check in with you on that. We also want to remind folks that our workforce development team, in collaboration with other workforce development providers across the state of Maine, are continuing to offer virtual employment workshops and informational sessions to help individuals connect to resources, build job skills, and find and maintain employment. Those include interviewing tips and tricks, things like making career choices, resume and cover letter development, job preparation and retention. You can look right on the ACAP website and sign up for those. We hold them on a regular basis. Some are instructed by members of our team and others are instructed by members of the collaborative, but we try to offer them as frequently as possible and encourage you to sign up, especially if you're looking to get back into the workforce or increase your workforce skills. We also encourage you to check in with our workforce development team because there are a number of programs that are available to you that could help pay for tuition, help pay for books, help an employer pay for about up to 12 weeks of employment as they work with you to see if you are a good fit for that particular employment opportunity. So do connect with us. Our workforce development team is looking especially for youth age 16 through 24 right now, as there are a number of available slots in that program. We want to also remind folks that COVID-19 levels in the state of Maine, although green, now fluctuate from time to time, and we're continuing to encourage anyone 6 months and older who is eligible to receive the vaccine to do so. You can go to maine.gov/COVID-19/vaccines to see where a site is available nearest you. If you are unable to get online or prefer to have assistance with that, you can give us a call here at 764-3721, and we can help find an appointment nearest you. We're also reminding folks that don't let transportation be an impediment. If you're due for a booster or if you need your initial vaccine, there is a free vaccine ride program available through the Department of Health and Human Services, and we can help connect you with that as well, with a 48-hour advance notice prior to your appointment. Again, at the time of recording, although levels fluctuate, it was currently green here in Aroostook County, but that may have changed. We also are, speaking of COVID, want to remind folks that there are free at-home tests available. We encourage you to go to covidtest.gov. If you have done so previously, they have recently recycled the website, and you are eligible to apply for another set of free tests, and they are usually shipped between 7 and 12 days to your home address. There's also the website, if you haven't used it yet, accesscovidtest.org. You can get free tests for your family through that site as well if you haven't previously. And we also are reminding folks of the new COVID exposure guidance. If you were exposed to the virus that causes COVID-19 or have been told by a healthcare provider or public health authority that you were exposed, the steps that you should take include the following: watching for symptoms for 10 days, wearing a mask around others indoors for 10 days, and to test 5 days after that exposure or sooner if you have symptoms. If you test positive, folks are asked to follow isolation guidance and to take extra precaution for 10 days when around people more likely to get very sick. For more information, you can go to the MAIT CDC's website noted there on your screen, or just go to the Department of Health and Human Services website to navigate to CDC. And if you are in a position where you are asked to isolate or quarantine and you are in need of assistance, for example, grocery and meal delivery to your residence so that you can safely isolate and quarantine, ACAP is the provider in this region for those services. You can go directly to the Department of Health and Human Services website and do an online referral, or call us directly here at the agency at 764-3721 and ask for quarantine assistance, and we will reach out to you within 24 hours to make sure that we assess what you need and get those services delivered to your house. And finally, if you are in need of any assistance at this point and are struggling with something and just aren't quite sure where to reach out, we do have a team of navigators on site here at ACAP, and you can reach out to them and they can connect you whether with a program here in our agency or with a community provider or government resource out there. They are well versed on what available programs are out there, and we encourage you to reach out to us at 764-3721. And that's this week's news and information you can use. I'm so pleased to welcome our guests to the program now. First, in the upper square with me there are Chastity Holland and Kerrigan Haney. They are community educators here at ACAP. And I think, Kerrigan, you are making your first appearance on ACAP today. So welcome to you both, but a special welcome to you, Kerrigan, in your first appearance.
Thank you.
And one of our statewide partners that we work with, a program manager with one of our statewide partners, and I'll have her introduce herself a little bit more to you in just a bit. Sarah Rhines, welcome to your first appearance on ACAP today. We're glad to have you.
Great, thanks for having me.
And lastly, someone who I've known for a number of years, Lee Smith. It's great to have you on ACAP today. Lee is both a local realtor and a landlord, and he is here to share with us his experience working with our team on some tobacco policy work, which we're going to learn about in just a bit. So Lee, welcome as well.
Thank you. My pleasure, Jason.
All right, so let's start with our home team here, Chastity and Kerrigan, talking about the work that you do, the important work that you do around tobacco policy, and why it's relevant, and sort of give us a map for what we're going to be talking about on this edition of ACAP Today with our other two guests. So Chast, let me start with you.
Thanks. So some of the work that we do a lot of education, but another huge piece to kind of getting on top of the issue, tobacco prevention, is getting comprehensive policies in the hands of different sectors that need it. Something that we come across quite often is that people don't feel like they have the time to do the policy work, and we're here to just say, you know, like, that's our job. Let us take that part for you. Let us do the hard work, and then you can kind of plug in the little areas that need improvement or that need to fit your place better. we have, I don't want to say missed the mark, but we have not put as much focus into like the multi-unit housing area, the seasonal rental area. So that's something we're really trying to focus on, just letting these places know that one, you should have a policy to protect yourself, and that we can, we can help do that for you.
Now, Kerrigan, you're relatively new to ACAP and to this portfolio of work. In the short time that you've been working, relatively short time that you've been working with Chastity and doing this work, what have you learned about the importance and sort of the newer line of work that you're doing, where you're working with more residential units? Because I know Chast had been doing a lot of business work and organizational work with nonprofits and sort of business policy tobacco, but this is more looking at the residential side of things. What have you picked up in your time working with Chast on this?
I picked up being able to make connections with different people. It's really important to make a connection with the people that you're trying to talk to about policy and help them understand what a policy is and why you're trying to do this. It's really important because patrons are being at different entities every day, and there's secondhand smoke, there's third-hand smoke, and so we want them to realize that it's for the health and safety of their patrons, but also their workers as well. So just providing like a safe and healthy environment is really important. I really have learned so much my past few months that I've been here, and I've really took it and ran. I really love being able to educate people and talk to people out in the community and learn so much about their businesses, as well as making a personal connection with them and then helping them in the way I can.
Now, Sarah, as you're hearing Chastity and Kerrigan talk about this, you're looking at this from a statewide perspective and a policy perspective on the statewide level. First of all, tell everyone who you are and how you connect with the work that we're doing here on the ground in Aroostook County, and about how this is sort of being replicated statewide and why it's so important.
Absolutely. And it's wonderful to be here as part of this collaboration and chatting about this today. So I work for the Maine Health Center for Tobacco Independence, and our role, we work statewide, really supporting a tobacco-free Maine through education, prevention, policy, treatment, and training initiatives. A lot of this being done through Maine CDC grant funding, and a lot of that is also how we work collaboratively with community partners, especially including with ACAP, working with Chaz and Kerrigan to be able to implement this work. And talking about smoke-free multi-unit housing, one of our areas of focus, really knowing that there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke. So it's so important to have these tobacco-free policies that they're talking about and can support at the community level. So we, through our Breathe Easy Maine initiative, have a lot of resources and supports to help create tobacco-free policies in a variety of areas, including smoke-free housing, because we know that it's such an important piece, and that helps to build up and have this work that what ACAP's doing being available as a resource across the state to every community, so that we can make sure we're putting in those policies that are both a win-win for landlords and for their tenants as they protect from secondhand smoke, but also can be cost saving. So through that initiative, we've got the ability to help provide signage and different resources and toolkits and template policies that Chaz and Kerrigan are able to be on the ground to really make sure that they get implemented and have that technical assistance, which we think is just so valuable to landlords to make sure this can happen.
I want to come back and talk with you in just a bit about sort of those resources a little bit more in depth, but want to go to Lee Smith now, who is a local landlord. He's also a realtor, and Lee has been working with Chas and Kerrigan on policies for his facilities. Lee, tell me about how that process got initiated, what it's been like, and what sort of the early wins, if there have been for you with your facilities.
Thank you, Jason. We're really in the very early stages of that. Chas has been good about showing me the opportunities and the micro grant, I think it is, that I can get to help with signage and enforcing or setting policies in place, educating the tenants. It's a really important initiative or concept to try to get to tenants that smoking in the multi-units at the steps in the hallways is just impactful on everybody. And if we can keep it to a minimum or zero, it would make everybody around them happy. And so she's been really opened my eyes to a few different resources that they're providing, which I wasn't aware of before.
Now, Lee, you both have responsibilities, obviously, as a landlord and a realtor. In this process and in the work that you're doing with Chess and Kerrigan, are you looking to sort of replicate that? Are you looking at all of the facilities that you own? Are you starting with a pilot? And is there any of the information that you're taking forward as well in your role as a realtor?
I own about 8 buildings, and probably I'm going to do them one by one, starting with my largest one, just because it has the most amount of tenants. And I think that, it's once you get the first one stamped out and the procedure on educating the tenants and getting the signage up and all that, I'll carry it forward. Because it's a recurring problem. There are very few smokers in my buildings, but there are some, and I hear about it all the time from the other non-smokers. So helping to improve that situation would be great. On the realtor side, I deal with investors who are buying multi-units and, of course, just regular housing. On the multi-units one, if we show a building with a smoker tenant in it, that immediately drops some of the value in the building. And so educating the sellers of these buildings, hey, try to get some of this stuff in place, or really enforce your policy, or educate your tenant on the whole picture of this, can help improve the sale of your property. Because you bring a buyer in and immediately their nose goes up like, whoa, no thanks, I'm not interested in this, because it's costly, it's expensive to mitigate that, remove it if you can. So it covers the whole perspective.
Thank you, Lee, for sharing that perspective. Chas and Kerrigan, as you hear Lee speak here, and I know that Chas, you indicated earlier, I know that you guys have done some tremendous work with local businesses and organizations, and sort of more or less covering the 8 to 5, if you will, or whatever time frame that a business is open during the day. But is it exciting that you're sort of more branching into this kind of work, where you're going to be helping people more in a living situation where they spend more of their time than they do at work, except for a few of us sometimes seems the other way around. But is life is that work something that you're enjoying and seemingly finding fulfilling because of the potential impact that it makes on people's lives where they live?
Yes, absolutely. I think, as so we have to think of things always on like multi different levels. So I've never been a smoker. I've always found the smell to be kind of foul. I prefer not to be around it. So for me, it's encouraging to be able to, reach out and get that taken care of. But in a, we always also have to think about the people who do, and sorry, I'm taking a step back here, I guess. Beyond the policy, also the things we can do for those who do smoke. And we know that majority of smokers, almost 70%, wish that they didn't have to continue. So also getting the education out there to let them know that we have resources. So we're not trying to outcast those who do smoke. We're trying to make the environment healthier for those who don't, and then at the same time educate those who do, to let them know that this isn't something you have to live with if you don't want to. We do have the resources to help, especially with Maine Quit Link, and now for the younger. So I believe it's like 13 to 18, the new My Life, My Quit program that we're working with. And just trying to meet people where they're at and let them know that we're here to support no matter what it is. We're not telling people you're not allowed to smoke. We're saying maybe don't do it right here where other people have to, I hate to say reap the consequences, but I guess like Sarah said earlier, there's no risk-free level to secondhand smoke. So that's the biggest part of what we're dealing with.
That's Kerrigan. That's a good point. I'm going to sort of bring it to your age level, because you're a current college age student, traditional college age student who's also working, as many college age students are, and are mostly living in facilities where they are in sort of a congregate living facility with others, either in apartments or college residence halls and things of that nature. Is this work and the things you're learning through this work something that you are sort of bringing back to your peers and learning from your peers about what are some of the challenges around secondhand smoke and tobacco use and things of that nature for people who are your age living in facilities where there's shared living environments?
Yeah, so since I'm a senior this year, I have a lot of freshmen that reach out to me and they're like, hey, so what do you do? And like, very interested into knowing. And it's really interesting, like all the stuff I've learned. I got to go to a conference and learn so much in the span of 3 days, and I really dove into it. I really love learning, so it's really easy for me to pick up on and then also educate others. And I'm like, did you know this? And they'll be like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's all in what you're holding in your hand right now. And they're like, that's disgusting. I'm like, I know. Just having like those kinds of conversations where you engage them into knowing what they're doing, because if they don't know what they're doing, the consequences are so bad later on for their bodies. It's very popular right now for e-cigarettes in my generation. It's more common amongst youth because it's easy to hide. It smells faint sometimes, and it has flavors that target youth. So, and kids my age. So it's easier for them to pick it up than it was a cigarette, because a cigarette was harder to hide. So it's letting them know what they're doing to their bodies, but also letting them know the consequences that you could have on your pets or your kids or anyone who's around you that's inhaling that as secondhand smoke or even thirdhand smoke when you're inside of apartments or dorm rooms. Just random stuff like that. You have to think of the consequences.
Sarah, when you hear, a couple of community educators on the ground speak about this information, and we were talking with you earlier and you were talking about and sharing with us some of the resources that are available. Once that awareness that Chastity and Kerrigan are working on, and then they take it to the next level, things that they're working on with Lee, for example, about developing policy. What help and assistance do you provide or do you bring to the table for our team in connecting with folks like Lee that help make that transition in making those changes around policy easier or better facilitated?
Absolutely. And it's just so great to be part of the conversation and chatting about these important pieces that are happening. And as our role as sort of the convener here at CTI, what we do is try to make sure that we can make this process as easy as possible for our colleagues at ACAP and across the state through the other community partners who are working on these strategies. And the cool thing is that we've got this happening in all communities across Maine, really to be thinking about how we can be reducing exposure to secondhand smoke and supporting those who are thinking about quitting. So some of the resources that we're able to provide are those template tools and things that Chaz and Kerrigan have of really what is the best practice? What do we know around the laws around this? What has been done in other communities? We've got, Maine has really been a leader in smoke-free multi-unit housing for years. This work has been happening, and what's exciting about that is that there are things that have been learned through compliance checks, through what are needed to educate tenants. How do we make sure there's support for those landlords that are able to be provided, whether it be through signage, through some of the education tools that are available, even just around raising awareness, fact sheets and RAC cards around secondhand smoke, as well as those quit resources. So being that connection point to some of those tools that, while I always say with smoke-free housing, especially, the focus is about, it really is about the smoke, not the smoker. But we know, as Chaz said, the vast majority of people who use tobacco products are at some level thinking about quitting. And oftentimes that policy change, whether it's at their workplace or in their housing facility, might be what gets them to make a quit attempt. So we're able to be an access point, sitting housing here, the main quit link, which is the statewide tobacco treatment service that's available for any adult, as well as the new complement to that, as Chaz mentioned, My Life, My Quit, which supports those pieces, really to get the word out so that young people who are smoking or vaping have tools to quit. But so we're able to sort of be that connection point, having policy templates, statewide signage, so people are seeing the same signs, whether they're up in Presque Isle or they're down here where I live in Portland, so that we're sort of creating those norms and connecting people to quit services.
Lee, as you hear all of that, and you're just beginning the work that you're doing with your policies in the first building that you're looking to institute it, what are your thoughts in terms of do you feel that this will help in the work that you're doing collaboratively with us make life better for tenants in your facilities?
I think it will. Like anything, it's not just a one sign or one policy. It takes education, it takes time, it takes repetition, it takes weeks, months, years. It's not overnight. So just putting the stuff in place, getting it into motion will improve in the short and long term. I definitely think a positive thing that I thought just about signage last night, if I'm showing new tenants prospective housing and they walk in and they see right at the door, this is a smoke-free residence or whatever the sign says, that will help them in their decision. Like, okay, this landlord thinks that it's important to enforce this. I'm going to put that as a checkbox in. Yes, I'd like to rent here as a positive thing. And so that's just another thing that will help. And of course, I can share that, and would be more than happy to facilitate conversation with some of my on my real estate or realtor side, connecting with ACAP, some of my sellers or buyers of multi-units that want to put that stuff in place. So there's definitely a lot of benefits, just a matter of putting it in place.
Thank you, Lee. So what have we left, unsaid that we want to make sure folks understand? We're going to just do a round through the screen here and sort of get those last minute thoughts that folks want to make sure is understood from this conversation, and how they can connect with this resource and what's available. So let's start with both of you, Chas and Kerrigan, in terms of your last thoughts and sort of parting words to help people make sure that they can connect with this resource if they need it.
Just to let them know that there are resources out there. It's really important. Your body is the only one you have, so make sure that you're trying to stay as healthy as possible, because the consequences after just a few years or even a few months are really hard on your body.
And like Kerrigan said about resources, that's what we're here for. I think a lot of ACAP is a very well-known name, but tobacco prevention within ACAP is less known. We usually go to like Head Start or energy and housing and stuff when you think of ACAP, but don't forget about us. We're here to do the work, and we want to improve policy, and we want to be able to partner with people and get the education out there with, not just rentals, but basically every entity possible. We can work with anybody. So if you have policies you need written, correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, a state law that businesses have to have a tobacco-free policy. So come see us for it. We're more than happy to do that, so you don't have to put the extra work in.
Sarah, your thoughts.
Right. No, thanks for having me. And I would just say, my reminder when we're thinking about smoke-free housing is that reminder, as I mentioned earlier, it is a win-win opportunity for both landlords and tenants, as it can save money, make the housing safer, is related to fire risk, and also protects individuals from secondhand smoke. And so with that, there's a lot of opportunities, and it's becoming the norm rather than the exception in Maine, with the exciting work that we're seeing, like these collaborations here between ACAP and local landlords like Lee. So I think finding ways to do that and continuing to be part of that change is really exciting. And so I'll just highlight, if people want more where I've found those facts, we have our website is breatheeasymaine.org. So thanks.
You, Sarah. I will actually note that in our work, ACAP is working to bring a supportive housing project, a 13-unit supportive housing project here in Presque Isle into being. It looks like it will be online in early 2024. And we've already had conversations about tobacco policy. And it was actually a question that was asked of us by the city planning board in terms of what the tobacco policy would be. In both the interest of the health of the customers, but also the safety of any individuals who might be smokers in the facility vis-a-vis the local roadways and the like. So it is a conversation that is being talked about at city government levels and other levels in the community. And certainly, as we can attest by Lee's presence here on the screen and your final words, Lee, as a landlord property owner, as to why this is critically important, or important at least from your perspective.
Yeah, I think that everyone is aware of the health impacts of smoking and how they work against you. But not always the economic impact. Obviously, it's costly to smoke, but the economic impact for property ownership. If you're a smoker and you're trying to sell your home, you're going to receive way fewer opportunities to sell because people are turned off by that. And it would not, I don't have a statistic on this, but it would not surprise me if you probably would see a 30 or 35% reduction in sale price right off the top because of that smell. And the same thing goes with the multi-units. Landlords are going to look at that as, okay, I've got to try to mitigate that smell. I've got to clean it. Can I clean it? Is it always going to linger? It really impregnates into the walls and the paint and the flooring, and can be very costly to get that out. And so if you can put the education in place to keep it at a minimum, keep the smoking outside, help encourage no smoking or quitting smoking, things like that, super important. And Sarah also mentioned the fire hazard. That's a very important piece of this. One of the buildings that I own, previous to my ownership, the owner, there was a smoker in the building who was also on oxygen support, and that did not end well. And so the tenants in that whole building that remained after the fire that happened were very nervous about that, and they still ask me about how am I handling it? How am I handling this smoker that lives here and things like that? So it's a far-reaching issue, and it's not just like go smoke outside. There's lots of little fingers that lead off this thing, and I think the policies and the opportunities, the education, the grants, all of that is very important and helpful, and I hope that I can help move that forward in my capacity.
Thank you so much. Great advice for other property owners out there. Kerrigan and Chastity, last question for you is, how do people connect with you if they're if they're a property owner and want to get this process started, or if they're a business or organization leader and want to either adjust or make changes to their tobacco policy to make it more current, and any support that you might be able to provide? How do they link up and connect with that?
Absolutely. The easiest way is to email prevention at acap-maine.org and put tobacco in the attention in the subject line, and that'll come directly to us. We'll connect, and we'll do our work. Put us to work. We want to work.
Right, good. Well, let's encourage more folks to do that out there. So if you do have any interest, email us at prevention@acap-me.org. put tobacco in the subject line, we'll make sure that Chas and Kerrigan get that, and we can connect them with you as quickly as possible. So thank you very much, Chas, Kerrigan, Sarah, and Lee for being my guests on ACAP Today this week. And before we leave all of you out there, though, just as we do at each point in this broadcast, we bring you our snapshot of the week. And all throughout this year, we've been bringing you throwback snapshots for our 50th anniversary. We're not going too far back in the time vault this week, if you will, just back to 2018. I actually was at this event. This was Aroostook Youth Prevention Day, a very timely topic because our tobacco prevention team was on site and a very integral partner in organizing this Aroostook Youth Prevention Day at the University of Maine at Presque Isle back just a few years ago, but pre-pandemic, so it seems like decades ago in that time frame. So as you can see here, Aroostook youth from all over, I think every school in Aroostook County, but a couple was represented at this event, and a good time was had by all. So thank you to our prevention team for all they do, including for organizing this Aroostook Youth Prevention Day back in 2018. That's all we have for you this week. We'll be back next week, where again, our topic of conversation will be the hand picking of the potato field at GB&D Pelletier Farms. We'll have the farmer and his family on with us, as well as some of our community educators and a community development team who will talk about the importance of this project and the connections that we're making with the community to help with food insecurity throughout our region through this project. So we'll be back with that wonderful topic next week, and we hope that you will join us on the potato field, or in the potato field, on September 9th between 1 and 4 up in St. John Plantation. Until next week, we'll see you then. Have a great week, everyone.